Now, we say their position is getting better. With whom?
Yeah, okay, with whom? So I think it's two groups that it's so important to keep an eye on. All right, change in the Republican Congress's net approval rating versus pre-shutdown. It's rallying the base for sure. Look at this, the net approval rating up 12 points versus pre-shutdown. But it's not just with the base. It's also with the middle of the electorate. Look at this, among independents. It's up 8 points as well. So we've got a situation here where Republicans with the shutdown are actually rallying their base, but it's also something that's not hurting them with the folks in the middle. If anything, it's helping them with folks in the middle. And this is the type of math that if you're Republicans, you like to see, right? Because something could rally the base but alienate those in the middle, or something could rally those in the middle but alienate the base. But the truth is, we're not seeing that. What we're seeing is the Republican brand has actually gotten better among independents, and it's also gotten better among Republicans as well, that Republican brand when it comes to those in Congress. So again, what's the electoral reason that Republicans would give in at this point?
I just want to remind you that the reason why the government is still shut down is because the Senate Democrats have voted no for the 13th time. And while they sit and try to convince you that Trump's ballroom is the priority, even though it has nothing to do with your tax dollars, or the fact that it's the Republicans' fault because they control the Senate, even though there's a need for a cloture, which means that there is a need for 60 senators to say yes in order to end the filibuster. So there's a need for 6 more Democrats to say yes, and they are refusing. They are still getting paid. So that's just a reminder.
Deeply distressing to know that 42 million Americans are going to lose their SNAP benefits. And now that's one of the big reasons why I refuse to shutting our government down. And again, I feel like the Democrats really need to own the shutdown.
What's going on, everyone? It's Talks with Kenny here, and welcome to the show. We're going to talk about the shutdown narratives. Again, I know. I've been talking about this issue again, but I don't know. I think it's a good example of the current politics and how, the messaging of both sides or what they're trying to do. As you saw from the intro, John Fetterman is saying that the Democrats need to own the shutdown. And I think the reason why they need to own the shutdown is that the tide is against them. Independents are siding with Republicans more. And to me, that's who that matters the most. Because at the end of the day, Democrats, you can ask Democrats about the shutdown. More than likely, they're going to agree with the tactics of the Democratic Party. And that's due to political tribalism, right? Democrats are still in denial. We'll see at the end of the month, because as you saw from the intro as well, it's election season. It's election week today. There's a bunch of elections that's going on. We'll find out if New York really would vote in a socialist communist as mayor of New York. We'll find all that in and more by the end of the week. But I just wanted to talk about the politics of this, that the Democratic brand is suffering. Right? And I keep mentioning this, right? Because at the end of the day, people can say I could spin narratives, I'm doing spin jobs, I'm trying to do all this stuff in the whole 9 yards. But honestly, my framing's always been America first, right? That's my first priority, right? So if I'm telling a political party like the Democratic Party, hey, your brand is suffering with a group of people that is majority of the country, right? The majority of the country is considered working class. Democrat brand is suffering as working class voters see the party as too focused on social issues and not nearly focused enough on the economic ones that impact everyone every day. I consider the immigration issue an economic one, because what happens? Immigration affects what? Supply and demand. Crime. This is why Trump is focused on these issues. This is why Trump is not really taking such a hit, right? But what Democrats want to focus on? On Halloween, a man dressed as a woman is scolding a woman dressed as an Indian for Halloween. Wow. Then insanity, guys, right? This is the Democratic Party. A man dressed up like a woman, Halloween, mind you, and he's triggered by somebody dressing up as an Indian. Yeah. This is the Democratic Party, folks. Yeah, this is the Democratic Party. And they think they can win this one? The narratives they spinning, it don't make sense to me. So here's a clip. We talking about Snap. I just finished talking about Snap. But these federal judges, I'm using this clip as a point to highlight how biased and political the judges are, because the judges can rule to force Trump to fund the government or fund Snap, but the judges aren't ruling to force Congress to reopen the government, because the same argument they're making about Donald Trump needing to fund Snap, theoretically, the judges can make the same conclusions about forcing Democrats to reopen the government. Interesting thought experiment. Let's take a look at this segment, and then we'll go into the meat of the video. Let's take a look.
I gotta say, on the point of the federal judge, I mean, if the federal judge can rule that the Trump administration reinstates food stamps, why can't she also rule that the Democrats need to reopen the government? Because I'm not just concerned about the 40+ million Americans who are not going to have food stamps. I am also concerned about the 12,000 FAA employees who are not getting paid, about the 2.2 million military members not getting paid, about the 2.5 billion in SBA loans that are not getting distributed. And the bottom line is the Republicans have voted 13 times to pass a clean CR, and the Democrats will not do it. And it's because Chuck Schumer thinks
but that's a
every day
argument. That's
is getting better
it's not
for him.
It's not just solely just the Democrats. In fact, there is reserve. You know that there's reserve that can be used to make sure that these SNAP benefits
there's reserve for every single thing that we need to do.
But the reality
Democrats
is that this is an issue. So you're saying, do I have to make a choice between SNAP benefits or health care? Like, why do we have to make that choice in this big, beautiful America that we live in? It's not fair just to say it's a Democratic issue.
So let's have that debate after we open up the government.
But it's not just a Democratic issue. That's a disingenuous argument. We should not be on any side in this issue. This is about people who won't be able to eat. 42 million Americans that can't eat.
So
children who will not be able to. But it's not about the
government.
Democrats. That's not a fair choice.
It is a fair choice. We would have that funding and funding for everything else if the Democrats were willing to vote. As Fetterman has even said, he's called out his own party. Democrats are losing the biggest union who are tired of their dynamic.
So let me play.
Yeah, so I don't know where these liberal pundits are getting their information from, but according to the leading report, they're quoting the Politico right here. Breaking working class voters think Democrats are woke and weak, new research found. And at the end of the day, it's like, who interests are they doing this for? Like, if you look at all the political interests for the Democratic Party, it benefits them. It benefits their party, right? It benefits their party to use these Americans, these 42 Americans on EBT and government assistance as leverage for negotiation. What are their demands? The demands is to add onto the CR, not keeping it clean, right? When, the middle ground, it seems like, and I think many Americans will agree with this. Let me know in the comment section if you do or do not. I believe the middle ground is fund the government, have the discussion without having to hold Americans, like affecting Americans day to day. The 2 million military personnel, right? People are losing out on their money at a time where, people are supposed to be wrapping up, getting ready to be with their families, right? The holidays, vacation, Thanksgiving, Christmas, right? And some people are even looking at it even more nefariously, right? Like, I give one as a conservative that Democrats couldn't even make these things that they're crying about. Oh, we need to continue pushing these subsidies down. Why didn't the Democrats make it permanent? And look at the timing. Oh, it's so convenient. These timings happen at election season. And this is why people are starting to turn on the Democratic Party, especially those in the middle, because we're starting to see them as, oh, you're playing politics with this stuff. Oh, this is a game to you. Oh, Americans are leverage. These are the type of messaging that keeps biting the Democrats in the butt.
A new study from an organization that seeks to get Democrats elected had some disastrous news for the Democrats this week. Based on surveys of over 500,000 voters over the last 6 months, the study found that 70% of voters say that the Democratic Party is out of touch with average Americans. The study found that...
Now, there's a quick comment here. Did we really need a poll to tell us that? If you look at videos I was making 6 months, I've been really railing at the Democratic Party. And this is one of the things my detractors or people who, love to use the fact that I openly admit that I have some biases, that yes, I prefer the conservatives. Yes, I prefer the Republicans with most their policy prescriptions. They try to use this as a way to downplay my arguments or my interpretations or my takes on these things as a way to undermine me. But it backs up my case, right? It makes sense why I keep bashing the Democratic Party, especially if I'm America first, right? You just finished losing an election, Democratic Party, and the lessons you took from that is become more far left. Okay. Right? When Kamala Harris loses an election, instead of blaming Kamala Harris and her decision makings, her choices, her decisions, her actions, what she did on the campaign, her tactics, instead of blaming all those things, y'all blamed America. Oh, America is too racist and sexist to elect a mixed race woman. That's the takeaway, Democrats. Right? And then the Democrat supporters who happen to find my videos will make snarky comments about my commentary or my thoughts about the party, saying, of course you hate them. You're a Republican. You're a conservative. Why would a Democrat vote Republican? a sensible Democrat will vote Republican to teach Democrats a lesson. Hey, you can stay home. I'm not telling you how to vote. My commentary is more catered to people in the middle, in my estimation anyway. But I'm just saying that centrists in the middle that tends to vote Democrat, here's why you should vote Republican. Because these Democrats are so out of touch. They just finished losing an election, and they doubled down on what was failing, what was not working. They doubled and tripled down on it. Because they only respect one thing. They only care about one thing. Power. Power is the principle. And if you don't do something that makes them lose power, they won't recognize the legitimacy or the seriousness of the criticism. But I digress. Let's continue with the video.
Since 2012, highly educated staffers, donors, advocacy groups, pundits, and elected officials have reshaped the Democratic Party's agenda, decreasing our party's focus on the economic issues that are the top concerns of the American people, which pushed our party to adopt unpopular positions on a number of issues that are important to voters, including immigration and public safety. Well, do you mean to tell me that the Where Armani Vote Mamdani guy doesn't represent the working class? I'm old enough to remember when saying that got you canceled. Just look at the gap the report found between what voters want the Democrats to focus on and what they think the Democrats are actually focused on. Voters wish the Democrats focused on protecting Social Security and Medicare, lowering costs, creating jobs, lowering taxes for the middle class, lowering crime.
And let's take an argument here with the conservatives, right? Like how they will approach these problems. Securing the border. Democrats are losing that one, right? Democrats, 2008 Democrats, they may have had an answer for that. Hillary Clinton, 2004, might have an answer for that. Hey, you came here illegally, but we found out you've come here illegally. If you want to stay, you'll pay a hefty fine. Hey, okay, that's, you're still, you're giving your approach, your solution to securing the border. Lowering crime. Hey, many people give crap about Biden's war on crime or whatever, war on drugs. I forget what it was, the 1994 crime bill. Joe Biden wrote that. I'm telling you, Democrats used to make more sense back then because we used to care about the law-abiding American, right? Until this woke stuff came in. This is why the working class see the Democratic Party as woke and weak.
Securing the border. Dead last are protecting the rights of LGBTQ plus Americans, raising taxes for social programs, and protecting the rights of undocumented immigrants. Now look at what they think the Democrats are focused on. It's the exact inverse of what they are looking for. Voters see Democrats as insufficiently prioritizing economic issues, immigration, crime, and even health care. A large part of that shift in the Democrats' priorities has to do with who their base now is.
The base of the Democratic Party is for the rich and Hollywood elite. The famous, the celebrity class, that's the party of the Democratic Party message you, and that's who they're about, right? And people who vote for the Democratic Party are people who secretly think that they're in that club. I'm just saying, that's what I'm that's just my thoughts. That's what I'm just thinking. That's just what I'm thinking, right? Because it makes no damn sense you voting along with these people and they vote opposite of what the things you want them to care about. And then when Democrats do run that do speak to those issues, they get hit jobs done on them, talking about how racist and dumb they are. Like, make it make sense. And this is why many people say that the Democratic Party is losing to the far left is because of this radical energy that's running through their ranks. And you don't believe me? Look at the billionaires, look at the millionaires, disproportionately vote Democrat, disproportionately donate to the Democratic Party. 9 out of the 10 wealthiest districts in the country of the United States of America, 90% of them vote for the Democratic Party. So when you're saying tax the rich, how is a party, think about this. This is why this is what always, this always messed me up. If you're a party that says tax the rich, but your party is overrepresented by the rich, how is it in your political interest to say those things, right? Everyone was getting mad at Trump with his tax returns, and he said, well, Obama wrote those returns. Well, Hillary wrote those returns. I was just smart enough to take advantage of them. But tax the rich. Okay. Hollywood actors giving you lip service about how billionaires need to pay their money, but they're never saying millionaires need to pay their money because Hollywood fall in that class. And I'm not trying to make it a classist argument. It's not a classist argument. It's pretty much America interest versus party interest versus ethnic interests, the whole 9 yards. There's a lot of colliding interests that's going on in this country right now. And this is why there's a big push on the conservative end to push for assimilation, because there's too many interests, foreign factors that's influencing our culture, our politics, too many internal politics conflicting with the end goals. And this is why we got the glob of a government system we have now, because there's too many conflicting interests vying for power and control of the administrative state, aka the government. But I digress. Let's continue with this.
It is the educated and the affluent. This is known as the political realignment. The GOP, once the party of the country club, now represents the majority of lower income and working class Americans, while the Democrats, once the party of labor, now represent the highly educated and the wealthy. And it's not just presidential elections either. In Congress, too, the working class is represented by the GOP, while the wealthy are now mostly Democrats. Obviously, working class people have different priorities to wealthy people. There's a huge gap between what college degree holders want from the Democrats versus what all voters want, as the report laid out.
A majority of Americans did not graduate college. 60% of Americans did not graduate college, right? And college, this is why I call college the church of the left, because it's disproportionately represented by leftists, and that can also explain why a lot of rich people, as they're going through the ranks, especially the younger they are, they lean towards the left, because they've been indoctrinated in these values. They've been hearing one-sided narratives on a lot of these issues that kind of filtered them or conditioned them to lean towards the left, to be susceptible to left-wing messaging and left-wing cultural issues. And this is why you see such a divide between what working Americans care about and what the left care about, or the rich or the affluent care about. Because a lot of the times, the affluent send their children, their kids, the middle classes like this as well, to college, where that institution is overwhelmingly ideologically dominated by a political party or a political ideology that trends to go to the Democratic Party. And this explains all this, right? This is why when the Democrats or these liberals growing up, they used to say, oh, this is why only the educated should vote, because the more educated you are, the more likely you are to vote Democrat. Yeah, because your education is not actually an education. It's an indoctrination. You've been indoctrinated into these values. That's like me saying that, hey, all these college institutions are Christian churches. Let's go with that argument. And you're surprised when the data comes out, oh, all the rich people are Catholic and religious. Why? Because you effectively became a gatekeeper to success. And that's what these people have done with college. This is why a lot of people on the left get angry on people on the right when we call college a scam, because college is a scam. There's no improvement with your learning. Like, if you was a B student before you got to college, you'll be a B student when you're in college, right? College doesn't increase. College doesn't make you a better person, a better whatever. College is merely an institution where you go to learn a skill. That's it. It's no different than trade school. But all the marketing around it, all the status things that we place on it, the status values we place on a college degree, that's the only difference between a college and a trade school, in my estimation, is because it's a way of creating a false sense of authority. And that's what the left has done with the college degree, shackling themselves in debt and then looking to the government to forgive it. Democrats. And this is why the Democrats play into the student loan forgiveness crap. That's why, because it caters to their constituents that disproportionately vote for them. And this is the kind of things that I talk about a lot about Democrat politics, and how a lot of the times when they advocate for something, it's to benefit them politically in an almost like gaining more leverage on the game type of way. But I digress. Let's continue with this video.
The wealthy care about climate change, voting rights, race relations, and guns. Symbolic issues divorced from the struggles of daily life. While those without a college degree care about border security, immigration, terrorism, crime, drug addiction, and gas prices. So the next time you wonder why President Trump is making trade deals and bombing cartels over fentanyl, remember this study. Still, Republicans have their own unpopular issues. Banning birth control and IVF, Trump's crypto exploits, tax cuts for the rich, and getting Social Security and Medicare are wildly unpopular.
And I acknowledge that. I acknowledge those things are widely unpopular, right? Either due to ethics, differences of opinion, right? Because people are taught that, oh, we're going to tax the high income earners, and then Republicans give their case, hey, even if you tax the rich at 100%, it's still not generating enough money to really push out the outcomes you want. And also, it'll create a negative incentive for people to be high income earners. Because when you say the top 10%, it's not the same top 10% year over year over year. That bracket changed, just like who wins first place in a race. Who won the first place 10 years ago is not going to be the same people who win first place 10 years after. It's the same thing with these income brackets. They move. You fall up and down the chain. One year, you had a really good sales month. You became a top 1% income earner. This year, you didn't sell too well. You're back at the 15th, 25%. Right? It's constantly changing. Right? But the left, they sold this vision of a crystallized ladder, like, oh, the 10% is always the 10%. Right? But, you know, it's an unpopular opinion, but I believe in, I just think a lot of the people culturally and due to the media, the knowledge distribution, this is why I always talk about knowledge distribution. How is knowledge given, disseminated, challenged, spread out? The media does this a lot to try to craft the narrative. This is why they repeat things over and over and over again. Why they repeat one-sided narratives over and over and over again, because it's a socialist tactic. Socialists talk about how if you repeat a lie often enough, people will believe it to be true. And I believe a lot of these unpopular opinions are due to the fact. Now, banning IVF, that's more of an ethical thing, principle thing. I think Trump kind of is for those things. Republican Party as a whole isn't. But hey, trade-offs. That's what I talk about. Politics is about trade-offs. There's no perfect solution, only trade-off. But, you know, when it comes to the day-to-day life, Republicans obviously have the popular ends of the issues, while Democrats don't. They're worrying about cultural stuff. They worry about climate change. When, if you look at stats, even if you look at polls today, this is the all-time lowest point where people believe in climate change. Bill Gates came out against climate change. Who would have thought? I make climate change videos a long time on this channel. If you've been following my channel for a while, I talk about climate change a lot. And now it seems like a lot of people are coming around where I'm at. But I digress. Let's wrap up the video.
But when it comes to issues Americans care about, the GOP has much more support. On Tuesday, voters will head to the polls in a series of high-profile elections. The Democrats and the progressives are expected to do well. But what we learned about America this week is that a lot of that success involves not growing their coalition, but actually shrinking it, albeit to a more reliable voting bloc, affluent white progressives.
And that's the truth. Affluent white progressives are the face and the demographic of the Democratic Party. And I think this is why you're seeing a lot of minorities shifting towards the Republican Party, because the Republican Party is going, we don't see skin color. We're not trying to divide and conquer you guys. And broadly, you're all Americans. We're trying to cater to all Americans here. Democrats play this game of, oh, this loss for black people, this loss for Hispanic people, this loss for Asian people, this loss for Indian people, right? So when you play that game and you see that, hey, this party caters a lot to this one specific group of people, white liberal women, you ostracize the other groups of people. This is why you don't play identity politics. But, you know, I digress. I think I've ranted enough on this topic. Let me know your thoughts and perspective on the comment section below. I'd like to hear what your guys' thoughts and opinions are. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.